Okay. Check, check. All right, we're going to get started with our press conferences this morning from Martinsville Speedway. We start with Jimmie Johnson, driver the number 48 Lowe's Chevrolet. 24 starts here. Jimmie has 8 wins, tied with Dover for most wins. 17 top 5s, 21 top 10s. A driver rating here of 122.3, which is Jimmie's best at any track. If you can open up talking about going for the win here at Martinsville and hoping to get that checked off your 2014 list.
Yeah, always excited to come back to Martinsville, and with this being the site of Rick Hendrick's first win, 30 years for Hendrick Motorsports. Obviously, in 2004, the plane crash. There's a lot of motivation when we come to this racetrack. So it's great to be back. It's nice to know that this racetrack is strong for the Hendrick cars and very strong for myself. So we love to check the win column box. We're certainly close. We were knocking on the door last weekend, and I think we've had a couple other looks at wins. And I think we're really understanding this 2014 package and getting some good speed out of our cars, and we should be contending and racing for wins on a regular basis now, I believe.
Great. Thank you very much. We'll open it up for media questions. Please start with your name and affiliation. Wait for the wireless mic. And we'll start on the far side of the room there. We have 2 questions, and then we'll come across the middle.
Jimmy, Brad Zahar from WDBJ in Roanoke. 5 winners in 5 different races this year. Could you talk about how spread apart the standings are this year? And are you surprised that you haven't won yet this year, considering the success you've had early on?
Last week was a real bummer to not pull into victory lane with how strong of a car we had. We've had some other good top 3 runs with a chance to win and didn't, capitalize on that. But, it's not uncommon for us to, get a little deeper in the season before we start winning. And statistically, I think the end of the year is where we heat up the most. So, we got a good track here. Dover's coming up soon. There's a lot of good opportunities for us coming along. And with the new rules package like we have, I think that's what has allowed these, the 5 different winners at 5 different tracks. It's just a challenge right now to figure out what you need, what you want, and it's nice to see that there's so much parity and different drivers, different teams winning. I guess it'd be really nice if the Hendrick guys were walking away with it and we won all the races, but there is a lot of parity out there right now.
Jared.
Yeah, Jared Turner, Fox Sports. Jimmy, from losing his best friend Ricky Hendrick to his own physical challenges to being demoted to nationwide and coming back up, Brian Vickers has dealt with a lot of adversity in his career, but has been pretty resilient and fought back. As a friend of his, can you just sort of talk about that and your observations of Brian?
Yeah, he's definitely dealt with a lot of issues, and certainly at a young age. The emotional, personal side with the loss of Ricky, and then professionally with the challenges with his health, even a loss of sponsorship in looking for a ride at one point when Red Bull pulled out. Those are all tough things to handle, and he's a young guy and he's handled it all well. So I'm glad he's healthy. I'm glad he's in a great car, and he's been running great.
We're going to come to the front row here. We're going to go Kenny, Bob, and Brant.
Kenny Bruce with NASCAR.com. Jimmy, I know you feel like you can win anytime you go to any track, but is that feeling any different for you when you come somewhere like Martinsville where you've had so much success? And is it any more of a disappointment when you don't win somewhere like this?
It kind of depends on the circumstances. With this being our first trip to Martinsville with the 2014 package, I'm very confident. I know the track, Chad knows the track, and we'll figure it out. But I don't know how we're going to unload. So, last year coming in here, we had a refined package and knew exactly where we would be and could play the game as we needed to, as we had a good feel for things. So, there's a bit of uncertainty, some questions that we need to answer today on the track. But no doubt, when from a mental aspect of walking into a track from a team standpoint or a driver standpoint, when you're walking into a track you've won out a bunch, it does put a little spring in your step.
Bob Hocker, Sporting News. It's kind of the 30th anniversary of Rick's first ever Cup win that came here. Obviously, this track holds all sorts of emotions for Hendrick Motorsports. What's it like winning here for a Hendrick Motorsports driver compared to other other tracks.
Yeah, it's a very deep emotion, something that you take a lot of pride in representing the company. And then to see Rick in his face and, just the expression he has, and you can sense in his voice and in his eyes, how much it means to him to win here. It is a cool, amazing experience to go through. Rick's a very competitive guy, and he likes to win races, but with, as you mentioned, all the emotion here, and I think we're in a good place now. I mean, absolutely, we're sad that aircraft went down and we lost everybody that was on the airplane. But I find that today there's a lot more happy stories in reflecting back on, especially speaking of little Ricky, just some of the crazy stuff he would do and some of the stunts he'd pull on his dad. So there's a lot of laughter, and I would assume if one of the Hendrick drivers get to victory lane, it will be a very joyful celebration and emotion. Rick and Linda would probably shed some tears later in private, but from a team standpoint, everybody at HMS, it would just be a very uplifting experience.
Brant, Al.
Brant James, ESPN.com. I was kind of going in that direction too, but what is the vibe of this place for you? Because as you've said before, I mean, this has been the scene of some incredibly great things for you personally, professionally, in the team, but also some very sad things. I mean, what is the feeling when you come here? What are the thoughts that pop into your head when you see certain things or have certain memories?
It just depends on what activates my mind. Like today, flew up. It's overcast. It's cloudy. The whole week leading into Martinsville, I've been excited about coming here to race and feeling like we had a great chance to win. I wake up this morning, it's overcast, and I can't help but think of the airplane incident. So it just kind of depends on what triggers the thought process. But generally speaking, race time here, there's a lot of very good positive vibes flowing around, and I had great fortune to honor and remember our friends in Victory Lane, and certainly the day that it happened. I look back on that day a lot and think about how things went down. When NASCAR called all 4 cars to pit lane, we get to pit lane and there are police officers standing around our cars. I'm like, what in the world has happened? Normally they're NASCAR officials, not police officers. So that it was, I walk through that from time to time, and hope to never ever go through anything like that again.
Yeah, Jimmy, Al Pearson, Auto Week. It seems like it's a long way away, but Talladega's not that far, and it'll be the first time you guys have qualified with the new system. Have you even thought about what that's going to be like, who you're going to draft with, or is it you get to that week when you get to it?
Yeah, a lot of guys paid attention in Daytona to what the nationwide cars did, and there is a way to run a fast lap, but it's out of your hands, and it just depends on who's trying to team up, who's trying to work together, how far somebody's laying back. If you're getting up to speed and the group behind you, you're pulling them along at a faster rate, do you abort on your lap and try to catch somebody else and tag on the back end of their draft? So it is going to be extremely, you can't predict it. It's just going to be out of control, and in a good way. And there could be some wrecks even, because there's going to be a lot of cars coming and going and blending and things like that. But it will be a very interesting, 40 minutes television, whatever it ends up being.
Claire, Shannon, then we'll go to the back.
Claire B. Lang, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. You're always good at talking about tracks before you got them and then learning to get them. And it's interesting, you take a Dale Earnhardt Jr., he's got one of the best driver ratings here, but hasn't won. Or Casey Kane talking about it. Seems to the average person to be sort of a mental thing as well as getting the track, but not sure. How do you look at this track? And I think one other thing Earnhardt Jr. said, there's more freedom now with the new point structure to not be so worried that something might happen here. Maybe that will help him win here for the first time. I don't know. But when you talk about winning here and learning it, what comes to mind?
Yeah, I don't know exactly. I guess the first thought that came to mind was, and when you go to a racetrack and you're concerned about how you're going to run there, and you start protecting, a nice top 5 run or top 2, top 3, whatever it might be, maybe you don't race as open as you should and take the chances that you should to win and be as aggressive as you need to. And I was fortunate to get a win, fairly early in my Cup career here, and I've been able to race here with an open mind and not worrying about protecting. And as I'm on the track, I see a lot of different drivers. They get to the top 5, and it's a tough track to get around, and they're very defensive and worried about every little inch on the track and protecting and blocking. And I've been able to get so much experience here and understand how to pass and set our car up that I'm just thinking offense the whole time. And maybe there is a small mindset there that is the difference.
Shannon Spake, ESPN. Speaking of learning the track, I know you've credited Jeff Gordon for sort of helping your progression in learning this track. And when you come to Martinsville, it's hard not to mention you and Jeff. What specifically, I know it's thinking back a while, but what specifically did he do to help sort of your progression and your success here?
With Jeff, I mean, we were very fortunate to, in that point in time, to test. We had a lot of test sessions we could use up. I think I had 12 as a rookie, my rookie season. And with data traces and even just general testing rules and procedures, it was very easy to get Jeff here and work with him and understand what to do. And we took every step we could to get me prepared and get me right. And I still was kind of in the way. And truthfully, I think our second trip here, so the fall of my rookie year, I got lapped by Tony. And then all the verbal stuff that Jeff said, all the mechanical stuff, because we basically just put his setup under my car and go figure it out type thing, it all came together when I followed Tony and could pick up the rhythm. And this is a track where a half a tenth per end of the racetrack is huge. And it's so hard to even quantify that or see that. And it took me following Tony and getting into that rhythm where I picked it up. And I was fortunate enough to get my lap back, and then I think we ran a top 15 or top 10. And from that point on, I'm like, okay, I see it, I get it. Or maybe more so I feel it and understand that rhythm.
Back of the room.
Hi, Jimmy. Roger Holtzclaw, Speedway Media. Here at Martinsville, we always see a lot of front shock travel in the cars. With the implementation of the new front end rules, the height rules that NASCAR has brought out for 2014, are we going to see a lot less travel, and is it going to be a big a difference in feel for the driver?
Yeah, definitely. The straightaway height versus the corner height will change. That gap will close up quite a bit. Some guys still may elect to let the nose pop up some and transfer weight to the rear tires for forward drive. But in general, you'll see the cars, on the deck and sealed up straightaway and corner. It's ultimately the goal. Every now and then, especially on a small track like this, you'll allow the front to transfer a little weight to the back for grip. But we'll just kind of have to see how the day goes on. But this is one of the tracks where you'll notice a big difference in the car's ride height.
Carlos Mendez, Fort Worth Star-Telegram. Jimmy, you mentioned it wasn't uncommon for you to start winning later in the year. Do you know why that is? And considering Martinsville and Texas are back-to-back, isn't that a good springboard time for you to start that winning?
Yeah, it's a great lineup of tracks. And then, truthfully, every team has good tracks and bad tracks. And I think on the calendar, our good tracks are placed kind of spring and fall. And the Dovers, Martinsville, Texas, those types of tracks, and we're getting into them. So hopefully we can get something here early to check that box, and then progress through the regular season and make sure our cars are right, because there's a lot of change going on and a lot of speed to still find in our race cars, and then buckle down in the chase. And we've always operated well in the chase, and again, a lot of it's because those tracks are really our strong tracks.
Dustin, Nate, and Alan to close.
Dustin Long, MRN.com. Certainly you've had a lot of challenges with Jeff through the years here at this track. How does that challenge of racing him for a win, for a position, how does that challenge you, and how is that different from racing somebody else or a teammate or another teammate?
When I first got started here, the short run really hurt me, and especially late in the race, and that was a strength that Jeff had. So from a car setup standpoint and even driver technique, I kind of focused on that area so that I could kind of cover that base. And now, Jeff certainly still has his short run speed, but he's figured something out on the long run and runs a much different line. And I think the last couple times we've been here on the long haul, his car's been better than just about anybody, and I've been the leader and watch him come and run me down. So it's kind of ever changing. And I don't know if Jeff has consciously worked on changing from short run to long run, or if it's just circumstantial with car and tire and track, whatever it is. But I fortunately can identify with it and try to make a change and try to protect myself. But I think from a trend standpoint, we usually end up with a lot of short runs at the end of a race here, and that's probably been better suited for us to be focused there.
Nate?
Nate Ryan, USA Today Sports. Jimmy, of the last 19 races here, only 6 guys have won, and obviously the main teams that get talked about are 48, 24, 11. Can you explain what it is about this place that's just so, it just seems to be such an exclusive group, and do you see anybody creeping into that echelon? Could we see somebody new besides you or Denny or Jeff or maybe Tony or Kevin Harvick? It seems like those are the names everybody sort of expects when they come here.
Yeah, it seems like, I don't know why, but when somebody sorts this place out, they've got it, and you can hang on to it for a while. The 20, I think, surprised us all last fall, so I would definitely put him in that expect to win category. The 88's always been strong here, and surprised he hasn't, had his shot at victory lane. The 5 has shown a lot of speed here. So I think, that there might be those, the 11, the 48, the 24 kind of first thought, but not far behind, and there's a whole lineup of cars, including the 29, which I guess the 4 now. He's always been strong here too. So I can't answer why only 6 guys in 19 races have been able to win here. It's kind of interesting.
We'll close with Alan.
Hey, Jimmy. Just wondering, can a driver's skills, your skills in particular, at a track like this negate any of the changes that have come with the new setup? Can a good driver, I guess what I'm asking is, does the new setup matter as much here as it does, say, like an intermediate track with the aero and everything?
Yeah, I think so. The biggest factor you have here working for you is your center of gravity height, and to be able to start the car, inches lower will just help put grip and speed in the car. So, and of course some small aero implications will come, but I think braking will improve because you don't have the cars that rely on the straight slamming down on the nose, and then you're able to get the whole car lower, not only from the front ride height changes, but also the open book we have with our rear heights now. You can get the car awfully low and pick up a lot of speed. Yeah, the drivers, it's still, at the end of the day, it's still a race car, and the teams and drivers, NASCAR works hard to make sure that the people make the difference, and the teams and the drivers really, instigate that and drive that. So, a good driver won't be able to take a 20th place car and win with it, but he'll finish better than 20th. But the most important thing that you can expect out of a good driver is to lead the team in the right way and make the right changes to the car and get it in the ballpark. Yeah.
Great. Thanks a lot, Jimmy. Good luck this weekend. Ladies and gentlemen, Kerry Tharp.